What's up, you guys? It's Aditi. Welcome back to our channel and welcome to Sleep Series. I've already made the first video in this series. If you want, you can check it out. But after this video, today we are just going to dive in deeper in sleep, and we're going to learn about how our body produces sleep and how do we know when it's time to sleep. So let's begin. The first part of this video, I don't want this video to be too long and keep bombarding you with a lot of information in a huge video. So we're going to break this topic into two videos. Today we're going to see the first part, so let's begin. So there are two factors and there are two other topics that actually determine sleep, but in this video we're just going to see the two factors, and these two factors determine when you fall asleep and when you wake up, and these two factors powerfully influence your mind and body. The first factor is our 24-hour rhythm, our internal clock known as the circadian rhythm. Circa means around and dien derived from diem means day. This 24-hour clock is located inside our brain in our hypothalamus. It creates day and night rhythm that determines when we feel tired and when we feel awake and alert at regular times during day and night. It also controls other rhythmic patterns like timely preferences of eating and drinking, our core body temperature, our metabolic rate, the amount of urine we produce, and even the numerous hormones that are secreted. But let's go back in time and see how did humans learn circadian rhythm. In 1729, a French geophysicist named Jean-Jacques Tortius de Meuron, he discovered that plants have their own internal time. He observed the plants' leaves and flowers as they followed the sun move across the sky during the day. But at night, the same leaves and flowers would just collapse as if they wilted. But the next morning, they would just pop open up as healthy as ever. And this behavior kept repeating every morning and every evening. And the same behavior repeated even on a cloudy day when the sun was hiding behind the clouds. So Jean-Jacques Tortius de Meuron, you're just going to call him Jean, he took us one step further and he just put the plant in a black box so it cannot have any kind of sun rays, and he would just peep through it to look at the plant, and he found that the plant was having the same behavior as if it was right under the sun. And this is how we found out that plants do have an endogenous or self-generated rhythm or a self-generated clock. Next experiment was done on this topic in 1938 by a researcher named Nathaniel Kleitman and his research assistant Bruce Richardson. So they took a trip in Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, and it is one of the deepest caves in the world. I mean, even the sunlight doesn't penetrate its farthest reaches, so it's going to be like pitch dark and you're going to be cut off from any kind of sunlight. The only things that they carried were food, water, dismantled beds, and measuring devices to measure their core body temperature and their waking, sleeping rhythms. The experimental question was simple. When cut off from the daily cycle of light and dark, would their rhythm of sleeping and wakefulness along with body temperature become completely erratic, or would they stay the same just like the people in the outside world? They lasted in that cave for like 32 days and they made two ground-breaking discoveries. One was that just like Jean's plants, we humans do have an endogenous or a self-timing, like an internal clock. And second was that our internal clock was not of 24 hours but a little longer. So for Bruce Richardson, the assistant, because he was in his 20s, his internal clock was a little longer than 24 hours. It was around 26 to 28 hours. Whereas for the researcher Nathaniel Kleitman, for him, as he was in his 40s, his internal clock was a little closer to 24 hours, but still longer than 24 hours. So this tells us that when removed from the influence of light, our internally generated day of each human is a little longer than 24 hours. And due to this internal or innate generated clock is a little longer than 24 hours, a new nomenclature came to be known as a circadian rhythm, which means that one that is approximately 1 day in length but not precisely 1 day. So now we know that the human adult's endogenous clock is 24 hours 15 minutes, which is not very far off from the 24-hour earth rotation. And the light from the sun actually plays a very manipulating hand in our internal clock, and the sunlight actually resets our internal time each and every day to match with the earth's rotation time, which is 24 hours. Daylight is the most reliable and repeating source in our environment. I mean, since the birth of our planet, sun has risen in the morning and set in the evening every single day without taking a day off. So it's obvious that every living species that lives for a few days longer does use the sunlight to reset their internal clock, and influences their sleep-wake cycle as well. Yet, daylight isn't the only signal the brain latches onto. I mean, think about it. Blind people cannot know if there's light. So, how doesn't their circadian rhythm just go completely whack? Because it doesn't. So, how does that happen? Daylight is the most preferred signal, but there are some external cues like food, exercise, body temperature fluctuations, and even regularly timed social interactions, as long as all of these reliably keep repeating. And all of these events do have the ability to reset our clock, our internal clock, to 24-hour clock. Any signal that our brain uses to reset the clock is known as Zeitgeber, or Zeitgeber as I call it. In German, it is known as timer or synchronizer. So daylight becomes our principal Zeitgeber. Now, in addition to this daylight, or in absence thereof, comes the second factor. The second factor is suprachiasmatic nucleus. Suprachiasmatic nucleus. But for the sake of this video, we are going to call it SCN. Supra means above and chiasm means crossing point. Okay. Now, suprachiasmatic nucleus is found in the middle of the brain in the hypothalamus. To be honest, circadian rhythm is actually found in SCN, suprachiasmatic nucleus, and SCN is then located in the hypothalamus. Chiasm means crossing point. As I said, it's because the optic nerves coming from your eyeballs, they meet in the middle of the brain and they switch sides. So they intersect. And SCN is found right above this meeting point, this intersection. Hence, supra means above. Again, there is a good reason for that. The light travels from our eyes along the optical nerve to the back of our brain, where the occipital lobe is situated for visual processing. Now, the SCN that is right above this intersecting point of the optical nerve gets aware of the light, and that is how it resets our 24-hour clock. So basically, you can say that SCN controls or resets the circadian rhythm. SCN is composed of 20,000 brain cells or neurons. I mean, it's a huge number, but it's not that huge, because the brain is composed of 100 billion neurons. So as compared to that, our suprachiasmatic nucleus is like really tiny, and we already know how tiny hypothalamus is, chota packet bada dhamaka. If you don't know how hypothalamus is, then you can check out my limbic system video. You will understand this a lot better. So, despite its tiny stature, SCN has a huge impact. This tiny clock is a central conductor of life's biological rhythm of every living species. It controls a vast arrays of behavior, including when we sleep, when we are awake. So, what SCN does is that the processes that are keeping us awake during the day are ratcheted down during the night. Let's take body temperature for example. Now, our body temperature rises during noon and then it plummets during bedtime approaches. This rise and drop of body temperature has nothing to do with you being asleep. So, you may be awake the whole night and your body temperature will still show the same pattern. The drop in body temperature actually helps you fall asleep, or it initiates you to fall asleep. I had already mentioned this in my first sleep series video, that you should have a cool temperature room and you should take a hot bath before bed to actually lower your body temperature. This is why I was saying that. So, SCN tells hypothalamus to reduce the body temperature and other endocrine glands to help you fall asleep, which we will cover in the part 2 of this video. Temperature is one of the many 24 rhythms that SCN actually governs. Wakefulness and sleep are another. I think we'll just stop here and we'll continue in the part 2 of this video. Till then, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you want me to make any other videos. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Till then, I'll see you next Friday with part 2 of this video. So bye.